All right, so are you ready to dive deep today?
Always.
Awesome. Well,
Mm.
today we're going all the way to Europe,
Ooh.
Germany specifically, to kind of
Ah,
explore their current economic climate.
right.
And we've got some excerpts from Alameda.pdf here to guide us.
Okay.
And let me tell you, it's a little bit of a head scratcher
Interesting.
because we always think of Germany as like the economic powerhouse of Europe, right?
Right. Yeah.
But even giants can face some challenges, it turns out.
It's true. And what's really striking is that Germany's grappling with like these unique problems that you wouldn't necessarily expect.
Yeah.
They've actually experienced a GDP contraction
Really?
of 0.3% in 2023.
Whoa, negative growth. That's not something you hear about very often,
Not for Germany, no.
especially for a country like Germany.
Exactly. And to put it in perspective, they were the only
Oh, yeah.
major OECD economy to see negative growth in 2023.
So this isn't just like a minor dip.
Right.
This is a pretty significant sign that something's going on.
Yeah, for sure.
So what's at the root of this downturn? Is it like a single issue or is it a confluence of factors we're talking about here?
It's definitely a mix of things.
Yeah.
But I think one of the biggest things has been Germany's energy situation.
Okay.
Their reliance on Russia for cheap natural gas,
Right.
especially through that Nord Stream pipeline,
Yeah.
has really backfired.
Right. The whole energy landscape shifted so dramatically
Oh, yeah,
with the Russia-Ukraine
for
conflict.
sure.
And wasn't Germany getting something like 50% of their natural gas from Russia?
Yes, and while they've made a really commendable effort to diversify their energy sources and transition to renewables,
Good for them.
over 50% of their mix now comes from renewables, but
Amen.
the aftershocks of those high energy costs are still being felt.
Right.
It's hitting your industrial sector especially hard.
So it's like trying to rebuild your strength after a major injury.
Yeah,
You might be on the mend, but those muscles haven't fully recovered.
that's a great analogy. And, if you look at their industrial value-added brutto,
Okay.
which is essentially a measure of how much value their manufacturing sector is generating,
Right.
it only rose by 12.6% since the pandemic.
Okay.
Compare that to Spain,
Right.
which saw a 22.5% increase,
Hmm.
and you start to get a sense of the disparity.
Yeah.
And remember, Germany is supposed to be like the industrial heart of Europe.
That's a pretty stark difference.
Yeah,
It seems like they're falling behind, even as other European countries are picking up momentum.
yeah.
So, but what about specific industries? Where are we seeing the biggest impacts?
Well, the automobile industry is a prime example.
Okay.
Production dropped by 3.5% in June 2023.
Wow.
And what's even more telling is that BYD,
Okay.
a Chinese car manufacturer,
Mhm.
actually outsold Volkswagen in China during the first quarter of 2023.
Hold on. BYD outsold Volkswagen.
Yeah.
That's huge. Volkswagen is practically synonymous with German engineering.
Right.
It's like seeing a major power shift happening.
It is a symbolic shift, no doubt.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it also highlights something really important.
What's that?
BYD's success is partly due to their early focus on electric vehicles,
Okay.
a segment where German manufacturers,
Right.
Volkswagen included, were a little slower to adapt.
So it's not just about external pressures.
Right.
It's about strategic decisions and adaptability.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a critical insight for any industry leader, regardless of their field.
Absolutely.
But it sounds like the auto industry isn't the only one struggling.
Right.
What about other sectors?
The construction sector is another one feeling the pain.
Yep.
They're seeing a 2.8% decline as of June 2023.
Wow.
And we're not just talking about smaller companies.
Yeah.
Even major construction firms are leaving Germany and seeking better economic conditions elsewhere.
Wow. Companies actually packing up and leaving. That's a pretty clear sign that they're not optimistic about the future.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment.
So if we connect this back to the energy crisis,
Mm-hmm.
are those high energy costs directly impacting manufacturing and construction?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Those increased costs ripple through the entire supply chain,
Right.
making German goods less competitive on the global market. And then when you add in other factors
Yeah.
like the rising cost of raw materials
Correct.
and ongoing supply chain disruptions, it creates a really challenging environment for businesses.
Yeah, for sure. It paints a pretty bleak picture, to be honest.
Yeah,
But is the energy crisis the only thing holding Germany back?
that's a good question.
Or are there like other
Yeah,
deeper issues at play here?
I think you're right to think beyond the immediate crisis.
Yeah.
There are definitely other factors.
Okay, so let's unpack that a bit.
Yeah.
What else is adding fuel to this fire, so to speak?
Well, one significant thing is the rising immigration rate in Germany.
Okay.
It's a really complex issue with
Yeah.
far-reaching consequences, both economic and social.
You know, I was reading an article recently about how Germany has actually been experiencing a labor shortage
Right.
in some sectors,
Yeah.
particularly skilled trades.
Yeah.
So wouldn't increased immigration potentially help to alleviate that problem?
It could,
Yeah.
and in some cases it already has.
Okay.
But it's not quite as simple as that.
Right.
The influx of immigrants, particularly those with limited skills or language barriers,
Yeah.
can also strain social services
Okay.
and increase competition for certain jobs,
Right.
leading to wage stagnation or even a decline in wages
Yeah.
for some segments of the population.
So it's a double-edged sword with
Is.
potential benefits and drawbacks.
Yeah.
But I imagine the political landscape complicates things even further.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The rise in immigration has fueled a lot of social discontent and contributed to the growth of right-wing populist sentiment.
Okay.
These groups often exploit those economic anxieties,
Right.
blaming immigrants for job losses and economic hardship.
Yeah.
This creates a very divisive political climate, which can make it even harder to implement effective economic policies.
It's almost like they're facing a crisis of confidence,
Yeah,
both economically and socially.
for sure.
But beyond the immediate challenges of immigration,
Mm-hmm.
what about the bigger picture?
Yeah.
How does Germany's economic future look in the context of global competition, especially from countries like China?
That's a crucial point.
Yeah.
While Germany's grappling with these internal issues, China continues to surge ahead economically.
Yeah.
They're investing heavily in infrastructure technology and education,
Mhm.
positioning themselves as a dominant force in the global marketplace.
So it's not just about getting their own house in order, it's about keeping pace with a rapidly changing global economy.
Exactly.
But with all these challenges swirling around, how is the German government responding?
Yeah.
Surely they must be feeling the pressure to turn things around.
They are, and it's really interesting to see how their response has been met with mixed reactions.
Okay.
On the one hand, you have institutions like the German Economic Institute and Deutsche Bank both forecasting further GDP contractions in 2024.
Oh, wow.
Their outlook is fairly pessimistic, to say the least.
Yeah, that doesn't sound very encouraging.
No.
Are there any voices offering a more optimistic perspective?
Surprisingly, the government itself
Oh, really?
seems to be holding on to a more hopeful outlook.
Okay.
Under Chancellor Scholz, they're projecting a 1.3% GDP growth in 2024.
Huh. That's a pretty bold prediction considering the headwinds they're facing.
It is?
So it's like a clash of perspectives.
Yeah.
With some predicting doom and gloom while others cling to hope.
Right.
It makes you wonder who's got the right crystal ball.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And adding to the mix, you have institutions like the European Commission and the IMF both forecasting more moderate growth.
Okay.
It seems like everyone's kind of hedging their bets,
Yeah.
waiting to see how the situation unfolds.
With so much uncertainty, what are the government's plans to navigate this economic storm? Are there any concrete strategies in place?
They've proposed a combination of spending cuts
Okay.
and potential reductions in social welfare benefits for those who decline job offers.
So a little bit of a carrot and stick approach.
Right. It's a very delicate balancing act,
Yeah.
trying to stimulate economic growth while also addressing concerns about social safety nets and rising inequality.
It's a tough spot to be in.
It is.
You have to make difficult choices, and those choices are bound to have ripple effects throughout society.
For sure.
It really highlights how economics isn't just about numbers and charts.
Right.
It's about people's lives and livelihood.
Absolutely. And to fully grasp the magnitude of what's happening in Germany, it's important to remember their historical significance.
Right.
For decades, they've been the continental growth engine and the world's fourth largest economy.
Right. We're not talking about a minor player on the global stage.
Right.
This is a country that's been a pillar of economic stability and innovation for a long time.
Exactly. And their current struggles have the potential to send shockwaves throughout the entire Eurozone.
Wow.
The stakes are incredibly high,
Yeah.
not just for Germany, but for the whole continent. What happens next in Germany could have far-reaching consequences.
Yeah, it really makes you think about how interconnected everything is.
It is.
We often view economic issues like in isolation,
Mm-hmm.
but it's clear that Germany's challenges are like intertwined
Oh, yeah.
with social and political
For sure.
and global trends.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we can't just focus on our own backyard.
Right.
We need to understand the broader forces that are shaping the world around us.
Absolutely. And it leads to a bigger question that's been kind of lingering in my mind.
Okay, I'm all ears. What's the big question?
Well, considering Germany's history of economic strength
Right.
and their reputation for innovation and resilience,
Mm,
can they actually overcome these hurdles
yeah.
and reclaim their position as like Europe's economic leader?
Right.
Or are we witnessing the beginning of like
Oh.
a more permanent decline, a fundamental shift in the global economic order?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is.
And unfortunately, there's no easy answer. We've covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah, we have.
The energy crisis,
Right.
the struggles of key sectors like automobiles and construction,
Hmm.
the contrasting economic forecasts,
Yeah,
the social and political ramifications of immigration,
for sure.
and the looming presence of China on the world stage.
Right.
It's a complex web of interconnected
Such
factors,
it is.
and it's hard to predict how it'll all play out.
Yeah, it's a story that's still being written.
Right.
What happens next will depend on so many factors,
Yeah.
from government policies to global economic trends to technological advancements.
It's a reminder that even the most robust economies
Right,
are not immune to disruption.
for sure.
And adaptation is key to survival in an ever-changing world.
Absolutely.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener?
Well,
It means staying informed, staying curious,
yeah,
and staying engaged with the forces that are shaping our world.
exactly. Because whether you're an economist, a business leader, or just a citizen of the world, understanding these dynamics is so essential to navigating the complexities of the 21st century.
Absolutely. It's about asking questions,
Yeah,
challenging assumptions,
for sure.
and seeking out diverse perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just accept things at face value.
Right.
Dig deeper, explore the nuances, and form your own informed opinions.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this episode of The Deep Dive.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us on this journey into the heart of Germany's economic challenges.
It's been a pleasure.
It's a complex and evolving situation, but by staying informed and engaged, we can all contribute to a more informed and nuanced understanding of the forces shaping our world.
I agree.
Until next time, keep exploring.